Testing, testing. Testing, testing. Okay, we're good. Sound is working. Okay, so we can get started. So today's video is a City of Heroes video, and it's focusing on how to build a Radiation Defender. So a friend of mine asked for a radiation build, so that I have that from yesterday that I built. So we're going to be looking at a combination of this build and also my Radiation Defender, and just talking about a couple things and how to build it. So first of all, I think Radiation Mission is a solid choice for defenders. It feels a really cool role in the team as kind of a combination of buff and debuff. The main powers for Radiation are the toggles. So these two toggles right here, Radiation Infection and Enervating Field, are your big debuffs. You put these two things up and then you can forget about them. So basically they allow you to, versus other sets in the game where you have to keep debuffing, once you put this up, as long as the mob is alive, they're going to be debuffed. So it means you can put them up and then switch to do other things. So yeah, let's start looking at the build. So radiation is the build that we have here. The Radiation Blast I wouldn't recommend totally for a secondary for if you're pairing it with Radiation. Radiation Blast is definitely one of the best secondaries for a defender. It's just funny how when you pair it with Radiation and Mission, it kind of becomes overkill, because Radiation Infection, which is one of your debuffs, has almost 70% defense debuff, and this power on its own, without any other defense debuff from the team or you, is already overkill. So there's no need to have any more defense debuff over this. And of course, Radiation, every single attack that you have in Radiation Blast, also defense debuffs. So the defense debuff that you're getting from your secondary is insignificant, at least as long as you have Radiation Infection online. So what you want to do if you're building into Radiation Blast is you can put Achilles heels and everything. So that becomes kind of the tricky thing about making this build, is how do you fit in Achilles heel without, gimping yourself on the resistances and all of that. So yeah, let's talk about power choice for a second. Radiation Mission has a lot of choices, and they're really personal preferences how you want to build it. It's hard to come up with, I think, like an optimal build, because it's just depends on the situation, and there's a whole lot of what ifs involved in this particular set. It's a kind of a funky set in some ways, and in other ways it's a really simple set, which is really nice to have kind of more simple things going on. So I made this build a little bit different from my build in game. This is my power choice in game. I pretty much took everything except for Fallout. So even this, some things are questionable. Lingering Radiation, Choking Cloud, and Fallout. These three abilities are up to you if you want to take them. I really like Lingering Radiation. Of the three, that's my favorite. Choking Cloud I only took on this build for the set, for the most part. It doesn't really do much. It's a toggle where it has a chance to hold targets around you. It does pair well with if you take, and oh, you know what, actually I should have labeled EM Pulse. Some people don't like EM Pulse. I very much recommend it, and I think it's an amazing ability, but I do know that some people are not a fan of it, and we can talk about that in a bit when we get there. So yeah, it is a hold, and choking cloud's also a hold, so it does stack. It's not really essential. E-impulse is good on its own. Choking cloud is good with E-impulse, but really doesn't do much. So choking cloud, not my wouldn't recommend it to everyone unless you're looking for something specific. Lingering radiation, to take or not to take. Well, the first thing is you got to have a power slot for it. If there's nothing else to take, I would take it. If you're looking for power slots, you could consider not taking it. What it does is, most importantly, puts a huge regeneration buff up on the mob, because it is an AoE ability. Most of the time, it's really, you only need it for the AV or the GM that you're fighting. So putting the regeneration on a mob isn't as important as just that one big target. So this is an ability that you will love when you're fighting AVs, giant monsters. If you're doing incarnate trials, this ability puts in a lot of work. If you're not, it's still useful. It's just not as useful. It slows them down. Max run speed and regular run speed are slowed. It also has a recharge debuff, which is nice. A little bit of something extra. So you can use it after you put up your debuffs. You got your abilities going. It could be a nice little thing, especially if they're widespread, because I believe it has a really big AoE radius. 25 feet is huge. I think... Oh, I can't test it. I'm wondering if that's the same or less than a regular... Oh, let's see. I can test it here. Neutron bomb. What's the radius? Radius is, yeah, okay. So typical radius of a ranged AoE attack is 15 feet. This is 25 feet, so it's an extra 10 feet. So it is really big, which is nice. So I take it. This is how I slot it because I really like the ability. You could get away with just one accuracy and one recharge at bare minimum. Well, I guess bare minimum is just an accuracy. That could be fine. But I believe this ability does stack. We could even test this right now. As long as I have Power Analyzer, which I do. Let's see. Be nice to just get a single mob. Whatever, this is fine. So, let's see. Okay, there's our regeneration debuff. Now we have to wait 24 seconds. See, I don't have enough recharge to really show how well it could stack. Unless it missed there, it does not stack. Oh my gosh, it missed. That's too bad. Okay, let's try this again. We can look at the other stuff for debuffing in the meantime. This is only debuffs right now from radiation. So, as you can see, to hit is -9%, which is just insane. So they can't hit anything. Damage bonus, -27% from that. 83% from recharge time bonus, and that's from lingering radiation, so that's pretty nice. Okay, and speaking of lingering radiation, let's hit one of these. Come on. Oh, I think it does. Yeah, it does stack. Okay. So that means that you do want a lot of recharge and lingering radiation. The more recharge you have in this ability, see, and also the importance I missed there. If you miss with this ability, it loses the whole point. So that's why I have it slotted this way. That's actually kind of a perfect demonstration that I missed there. So yeah, we want a lot of recharge, a lot of accuracy. That's why I have it slotted this way, because you will want to spam this against AVs. Um, okay, big big thing is Fallout. So I have do not have Fallout on my build in game, and I don't have it in this build. Um, and yet Fallout as an ability is probably the best attack in the game. It's absolutely insane. Just look at the effects. 50% resistance debuff. There is nothing that does. I think the highest debuff would be like 40% maybe. I think that's from Tac Arrow. I think they have a 40% resistance debuff. 50% resistance debuff is insane. There's nothing else even close to this. Um, so, and that's for 30 seconds. Minus strength, 30%, defense debuff, and to hit. It's crazy. And it does a ton of damage. The reason you don't take it is it can only be used on an ally that dies. So a whole lot of what ifs have to go into play for this ability to be worth it. First of all, an ally has to die, which, with how powerful everybody is on teams, is already rare. Sometimes you can just join teams and play for hours on teams and literally nobody dies. So they have to die. They have to die near a bunch of mobs. And you have to use the ability, which takes 3 seconds to activate, 3.2 seconds, which is a long time. You have to use the ability, and then your teammate has to be attacking those targets in this 30-second window. A lot of times if people do die, they die off on their own. So if you go over, you use this ability, on your own, nobody else is nearby, that's great. But then it doesn't get, none of these effects matter if your team isn't there to benefit from them. So it's just a whole bunch of what ifs. If all of those things align and use this ability, it's insane. It's, it will turn the tide and you will win. If you do build around Fallout, and my first build that I made for this guy actually was built around Fallout. I had it 6 slotted, and what I did was I paired that with Vengeance. So in the case that your teammate dies and your team is near you, you hit him with Fallout, you hit him with Vengeance, and then you can res your teammate. All of that takes about 10 seconds, so it's kind of a slow thing, but in the most extreme of cases, Fallout can be amazing, but it just rarely ever happens, so I don't take the ability. The other thing about when I had this guy built that way, I found myself kind of becoming an anti-team player, because I would want my teammates to die. So I would stop healing them. I would pull extra, like trying to get them killed. It was just not good. So I definitely, for me, I don't like to have the Fallout ability. And then the last one that you could consider not taking as a defender is EM Pulse. EM Pulse is crazy. It is an amazing ability. It's a huge hold, very powerful, 50-second hold for the 3 magnitude, and then it has a 50% chance to have an extra, so it turns into a 4 magnitude. So this will pretty much hold anything. Even bosses sometimes will get held, because on top of this we have lockdown built in, which is based on procs per minute. Since it has a slow activation time and a very slow recharge time, lockdown will proc on pretty much every single target, and it can hit 16 targets. 60-foot radius is insane. Remember, we were saying 25 feet is big. This is 60. This is like a oh, this isn't the big one. This is like having barrier or something. Let's see, what's the radius on this? 60 foot. Yeah, it has the same radius as a incarnate ability, and those are huge. So really, really good. It will lock down everything. It also is a regeneration debuff, so you want to use this on AVs. If you use Lingering Radiation and EM Pulse, their regeneration rate is completely halted, which is really cool. But most of all, it just will hold everything on the map. Very often, using this ability in missions, I'll hold 2 mobs at once. The downside to EM Pulse is a very slow recharge. On its own, it has high endurance costs, but with slotting, you can get it down a little bit lower. But the main reason you don't want to use it is this recovery rate here. Um, so I'll show you in mids how bad this is. View totals. Okay, so see, it's already on. Let's turn it off. Okay, without EM Pulse on, this is my recovery. 4.16, pretty solid. This basically means, and this is with my toggles on. If I didn't have the toggles on, where's the other one? Integrating field. Yeah, see, this is a huge difference. Without the toggles, no endurance problems. With the toggles, endurance is fine, but not. I wouldn't say like totally set on its own. Although we do have 120 max endurance through sets and accolades, that's pretty solid. Now, here's what happens after you use EM Pulse. Here's endurance recovery. Check this out. We're at 4.16. Now we're at negative 15. Basically, we have no recovery. There's nothing you can do about it. No amount of recovery will save you. You will not be able to get endurance back, and that lasts for 15 seconds. So if you are pushing a lot of buttons, oops, that's not the right window. If you're pushing a lot of buttons after you use EM Pulse, EMP Pulse, EM Pulse, you're going to run out of endurance. And it does happen. It happens to me when I play this build. And you can, take inspirations, but I don't really have anything built into my build to avoid that. It's just something you have to play around. I found that this character that I'm playing here, this Radiation Defender, let's see, does not have endurance issues, and my endurance is actually much worse than the build here. So I'm going to say that this build shouldn't have any endurance issues. I don't think that EM Pulse should cause any problems for this particular build. The reason why is it doesn't include Choking Cloud, which mine does, and it doesn't include Tactics, which mine does. So this is actually much easier on the endurance. If you're having endurance issues with this build, it's because you're not watching out for EM Pulse. After you use it, you just have to be very careful that you just have to watch your endurance bar. You can still spam stuff. It's just eventually, if it happens enough, you'll have endurance issues. So that's pretty much the main thing to consider with this build. Everything else is just easy mode. You're extremely tanky. You have a ton of health. You can debuff the crap out of everything so that they become pretty much useless. And you can just be in everything's face for the most part. The only weakness that I would say this build has is very ironic. As a radiation defender who just has energy flowing through your body, your only weakness is energy because there's only a 10% resistance to energy. But other than that, that doesn't really apply to too many things, especially at max level. I don't think there's any group that has just energy damage. There's no enemy type. Yeah, probably Cray. I think Cray would be a hard one. Oh, Rikti. Rikti could be annoying with all their gunshots. But yeah, so if we're looking at the build here, resistances are crazy. Smashing and lethal will be capped as long as you +5, like just this one enhancement right here probably would do it. If not, you just +5 a couple in Dark Embrace and Steadfast Protection here too. You'll have capped for Smashing Lethal, so that's perfect. That's pretty much what makes you the most tanky. Defenses are not as high as they seem. It's because we have support on. This is the defense, which is very solid. With team buffs, not even with team buffs, you probably don't even need them. You just need this up. Radiation, Infection, you put that up. I mean, I'll show you in game with the enhancements. 53% minus to hit. They're not going to be able to hit you. So defense is set. As long as you debuff, you're fine. Not to mention you have EM Pulse to hold, so you have a lot of survivability with this build. A lot of survivability, which is really, really fun. I really like this as a defender because you can just be up in the heat of things. So let's see, what else we need to talk about here. A couple things. Well, yeah, let's finish the primaries. Okay, the heal that you get, Radiant Aura, also something that is huge to your survivability. This heal is so incredible. Just to be able to get this type of heal, a PBA, a Wii heal on a defender, is excellent. Heals 275 on my guy. Has a 3-second recharge. You can just start spamming this when you are taking damage, and damage will not be a problem to you. Also, you can just be a pocket healer for the team. I field many teams, and this is pretty much sufficient enough to heal teams without a healer. It's very, very nice. Defenders just have crazy healing numbers, so we have that. This one is amazing. Accelerate metabolism. Pretty much always want to have it up. It does a whole lot of things. It's like a mini build-up. You get 25% strength to all damage to the team. The resistances are really good for blasters. Status resistant. This is good for a couple tunes. Corruptors, controllers, blasters, defenders. All the people who don't get any protection from stun, especially stun and sleep. These two, or sorry, stun and hold. That's very, very helpful. It also gives recharge to everybody, resistance to endurance. So this is amazing against sappers or Lord Recluse, and it gives a little bit of recovery. Pretty much just want to have this up all the time. 4-minute recharge. It is perma, and it will be even more. Wait a minute. This is not perma in my build. Oh wait, hasten just popped. Okay, it is perma with hasten. Strange. The build that I made here actually has more recharge than my build, so should be even more perma. Yeah, so you always want to be using that ability. Mutation is great. The only issue with mutation is the crash. This is your res. Also, another reason why I don't take Fallout, I recommend not taking Fallout, is because Fallout has a 3.2 second activation time. It's really long, so if somebody dies, you use Fallout, it takes like 3 seconds, and then you use mutation, which takes another 3 seconds. That person is not rezzed for like 6 seconds, 7 seconds even. So it just kind of delays things. If you can just go straight to mutation, somebody dies, you get them up immediately, it's much better. When you do resurrect them, they are juiced. They have full health, full endurance, 200% recovery for a minute and 30 seconds. This is typical that they get a type of build up for a minute and 30 seconds. What's a nice bonus, and I think really great about mutation, is this. You get the recharge. I imagine somebody goes down, they probably hit a lot of cooldowns and then died. So this can be really great, especially on a mastermind or controller. If you resurrect them and they have those huge cooldowns for a minute and 30 seconds, 100% recharge, that is significant. So that's great. The thing that a lot of people probably miss is that then there's the crash. So after the minute and 30 seconds of being OP, you get the crash for 45 seconds. So yeah, that pretty much sums up the primary powers that we're looking at. Before we do secondary, let's look at why my patron choices, or all of the power pool and patron. So because there is something you could do differently about how I picked my ancillary powers. So okay, hasten, gotta take it. Leaping I took so that we can be more of a in the heat of things, with acrobatics. Combat jumping is amazing. Fighting, basically what's really important to know about power pools is they're not created equally among the ATs. So leadership, for example, on a blaster or even a mastermind, that power is much less powerful than it is on a defender. Defenders have the best power pools of any AT, so you really want to build into them. Maneuvers, let's check this out. It's going to be crazy. It's almost 6% defense. Can I see what base is? Base is 3.5. So I'd guess like blaster, maybe mastermind is close to like 2% defense. This is 3.5. So almost double the amount of defense you're getting. It's that big of a difference. Assault, 18%. Maybe it's like 12% on a mastermind. Oh, we can check. Let's just see. Oh, okay. Yeah, there's a glitch in my game. I can't get this to work. Normally you can click this and you can switch to Mastermind, but my windows in City of Heroes are broken for some reason. Oh, I can do it here. Mastermind does, see, okay, 11.25 versus 18.75. That's how big of a difference we're talking. So what that means is you have to take leadership on a defender. If you doesn't matter what defender you are, you literally have to take leadership. It's that insane. The only reason I don't take tactics, because again, tactics is so incredible on a defender, is it is so overkill on a radiation. You have so much defense to buff that tactics is just so far beyond meaningless. There's no point other than the confuse, fear, and perception. There's no point to taking tactics, so that's why I didn't take it. Fighting, same thing. You'd be surprised, maybe, but look at that. 8% almost defense. Let's see what it is in here. Where's fighting? Yeah, almost 8% defense from weave. That is better than a tank. I mean, that's an insane ability right here. Incredible ability. Tough. I didn't build into tough because we don't need the extra smashing resistance, but that's what he got there. And then Dark Embrace because we were low on powers. But what you could do is, the reason why I didn't do this is because I really like Lingering Radiation. But this could be I would recommend this if you're looking for an easier build. Instead of taking Lingering Radiation, I can even show it here. I would drop Lingering Radiation. You would keep the exact same slotting for Dark Embrace, but instead you would take Consume here. Oh wait, I mean you would just have to move these around. You could move like, whatever, just for the sake of doing this. Obviously, you could do that. Okay, you would take Consume and Fire Shield, and you would slot Fire Shield the exact same way that I had the other one slotted. And for Consume, you could just do, I mean, this would be great. Fury of the Gladiator, 4%. Oh yeah, this could be a really good one. Or, what's the Attuned? Oh yeah, no, you should probably do this. I would just do the Attuned. Accuracy, you're looking for accuracy and recharge in the enhancements. So accuracy, recharge, this is going to be accuracy, recharge, and that should be all of the, okay, we're missing an accuracy, so do you want accuracy? I want more recharge, so I would do this, recharge chance for knockdown. That's how I would slot it. That gives you extra fire. I mean, this is a pretty arguably better decision for the build. I just really like Lingering Radiation, but if you have Consume, you will never have endurance issues, because the only time you get endurance issues again is with EM Pulse, which is every once in a while, and the recharge on Consume is 101 seconds, so you could pretty much use it every EM Pulse that you have issues. And Consume does give recovery, but remember, recovery doesn't help with the impulse, so more importantly, it gives you endurance. So you could be at no endurance, use Consume, even if EM Pulse debuff is up, you get all your endurance back. So that's why this is kind of a little bit of an easier choice here than taking Lingering Radiation. The other reason why is because with this build, we haven't talked about the secondary yet. We're going to talk about it right now. But as you can see, I took lots of powers. The person I was making this build for wanted to have kind of an aggressive version of the build, and I think this is fine. Mostly I took them for the slots anyways, but if you were moving things around, I would drop, and I don't even think I would take this if I was making the build. I probably wouldn't take Cosmic Burst, because just thinking about rotation, you already have so many abilities in your primary. With your secondary, thinking rotation wise, we have X-Ray Beam. This is single target rotation. X-Ray Beam, Proton Volley, and Cosmic Burst. I just think it's kind of overkill to have 3 single target abilities. So you have to take X-Ray Beam, so I would just get rid of Cosmic Burst. Proton Volley, I think, is better than Cosmic Burst. Maybe I'm wrong. I didn't look at the defense. Oh yeah, defense buff doesn't matter. Yeah, so then you'd want to have the Proton Volley. So that's also a suggestion. And you could, there's a lot of different things you could take. So yeah, and then you're definitely going to want to take Haze and Neutron Bomb. These are your two AoE abilities. They spread the Achilles heel. Oh, Neutron Bomb doesn't. That's right. I put a Ragnarok in it. The reason why you want to do that is because cones have a much higher chance to proc things. So having it in Haze, Achilles heel will proc much more often. And then Atomic Blast. I didn't put anything in either because we just needed a couple of this 6% toxic resistance. As you can see, my psionic is not super protected, both toxic and psionic. Wait a minute. Oh, I see. Having Fired Shield does change some things here. Yeah, if you have Fire Shield up, I bet with the slotting, this might actually be overkill. You might have to make an adjustment to the build. No. Oh my gosh, it works out perfectly. Oh, that's really cool. Smashing, lethal, and fire would be capped with Fire Shield. Just that energy and negative energy now are weak. Versus before it was just energy. Cold is really high too. This is really solid. There's a lot of enemy types that do some fire damage, and fire damage does a lot of damage, so it's really good to be capped on that. So, you're so tanky with this build, with Fire Shield or with Dark Embrace, either way. Cool. Okay, so back to the secondaries. Yeah, this I think, was the most interesting part of the build. We haven't really talked too much about slots yet, so we can get into that now. But the way that I slotted this, a lot of Franken slotting, as you can see. And I kind of came up with some creative things that I haven't done before for building defenders that I'm really happy with. Really happy with how this build turned out. I think this is a really nice build. Kind of creative with some of these slottings. I really happy. So just to explain slotting really quick, Preventative Medicine is a great set. You're getting that 8% recharge from the 6-set bonus, endurance discount, which is huge. Everything else is solid too. Resistances, hit points. Hit points is really important for a defender. Okay, so this is where, you know what, actually, I'm going to come back to the attacks because they're a little bit different. Radiation Infection, this is a really great way to slot it. The only thing is you might not need this Achilles heel. In fact, it's probably better if you don't have it. I just, kind of had the slot, and I thought, I'd like to have it in. It just doesn't have a high chances. It in fact has a really low chance to proc on an ability like this, but it just will randomly proc, and so when that happens, it's nice. Most importantly though, the Hamadons I'll show you in game. These reduce endurance, they increase defense debuff, and they increase to hit debuff. Now those are the three things that this ability needs. It needs endurance reduction, it needs to hit debuff, and it needs defense debuff. So this Hamadon enhancement is like the greatest slotting you could ever do to a power. It just gets everything. This is the equivalent of having 9 enhancements, 9 SOs in an ability. You do it with 3. It's so freaking amazing, and that's why these numbers are insane. Crazy to hit, crazy defense, and a lot of -N. So really, really great slotting for that. It's the only way to slot it. The only exception is Achilles heel. That's whether or not you want it. Accelerate Metabolism could use another recharge, but it's perma without, so didn't bother. Enervating Field could use another endurance reduction if you were having issues, but with diminishing returns, not really a big deal. Mutation, I like to have 2 recharge for when people die rapidly. I think it's really nice. I have the recharge in this build at 49 seconds, which is still a long time. So if you take that out, it's going to be even less. So I like to have the 2. If you're looking for slots, though, it really only needs 1 recharge. Hasten, I have 2 recharge. Combat Jumping, this is just pretty standard for my builds. Luck of the Gambler and the Resistance. Okay, so starting with... Oh, wait, actually, we're going to come back with the attacks. Electron Haze will come back. Aim, this is pretty standard. Pretty standard. EM Pulse, I slotted it this way. I didn't need more recharge for Unbreakable Constraint, so I went for the more protection stuff. So we got the resistances, we got recovery, we got a little bit of defense. Actually, now I'm looking at it, I don't know if... I think this is what I did on my character here. Yeah, now I'm looking at it, you could change something here, maybe. Well... Oh. Let's see. 2... We have 3 slots of... Okay. Yep, I have something... I have something that I would do differently here, I think. Unless you want the recovery. It's not a big deal. Let me count. 1, 2, 3, 4. No, okay, never mind. There's nothing I could do differently here. We already have 5 of that. Okay, never mind. Yeah, so this is pretty good for the slotting. The only set bonus I don't like in this set is the 5th set bonus. Defense energy negative and defense range. It's just not that great. It's good, but it's not that great. You have to put a lockdown in the impulse. It's just so amazing when you do that. Acrobatics is fine. Fire shield is fine. We're going for the endurance discount for the most part. Defense melee. You will be in melee range sometimes with this build. I mean, I should say you can be in melee range, so it's nice to have the melee defense. Tough, we didn't need the resistances because we're already capped, so I only put 2 slots in. One of them is the max health. We're getting that endurance discount again, which is really nice. It's, in fact, endurance discount is better in this build than recovery because endurance discount will work while you're under the debuff of EM Pulse. So endurance discount is pretty nice. Weave, just 4 Lux of the Gambler. Maneuvers, yeah, we're doing this for the endurance discount. This is almost the same set as Preventative Medicine. In fact, they have the exact same set bonuses. There is no difference. They're the exact same. Smashing Lethal is a little bit less in the first one, but it's pretty much the exact same. So that's why I really like this set. A lot of recharge and more endurance discount. Okay, so now the attacks are where things are really strange. To start off with the easy ones, full set of Armageddon, so we can get that Toxic Psi resist at the end. And obviously, you know, we're really doing it for the recharge, but the Toxic Psi is nice as well. And then, yeah, when I was building these, I switched a couple different times for how I was doing it. First time I did it, I think I had a full set of one of the Defender attunes. I think this one. But I found that I couldn't make things fit with Achilles heel, and I wanted more Achilles heel, so I was trying to come up with a creative way to Frankenslot. The easiest one is Apocalypse, because you rarely put all... Actually, almost never do you put all 6 slots of Apocalypse in any build, because that 6th set bonus for Defense Psionic is so niche. So that's a no-brainer. Proton volleys are really high single target attack, so that's why I put the Apocalypse in there. Then you have Achilles heel and the Apocalypse set, so that one's easy. Now, I figured this out. The 3rd set bonus of the Defender attuned, Vigilant Assault, gives you recharge. So that's kind of how we get all 5 10% recharge bonus and set bonuses. So I have 2 of these here and here. X-ray beam is kind of my... For this build, I mean, it's kind of... You don't have to really use it too much. So I'm just using it for slots. You know, it has the Achilles heel in it, so it's still pretty good. But I had 2 extra slots. I put the 2 Defender's Bastion in here because, I mean, for 2 slots, getting 3% hit points is pretty good. I mean, that's almost a Task Force Commander accolade right there. And hit points are extremely helpful in Defender because you don't have that many. With your heal and with all your resistances, the more hit points you have to work with, the better. So it just adds to your tankiness, so that's why I put that in there. I could see people saying, you know, not liking that decision, but I think it's nice because I really like to have this build be really tanky. I think it makes it really fun. Electron Haze is a really tricky one because it has knockback, knockback. So you need to make it into knockdown. So that's why we have the overwhelming force. I put this in for the defenses. We have the 6% resistance, which is really good. When I say defenses, I mean resistance, actually. And then the recovery is always good. So that's how that's slotted. Cosmic Burst is the last one, which has the other 3, Vigilant Assault. And then Superior's Winter Bite, because that has the Fire and Cold Resist. So Fire and Cold Resist is a lot in this build. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this would be 6 if you do that with Consume. That's a mistake. This wasn't in the original build. I didn't have Consume, so we don't need that. Oh, then this is what you do. This is what you do. This is what I wanted to do originally anyways. I would do Fury of the Gladiator here because, again, focusing on accuracy, recharge. Damage recharge. And for the last slot, it's a decision between more accuracy. Oh, that's too bad. I want to take the resistance debuff. It's not that good. It is. It's not as good as Achilles heel. Recharge. I kind of think we need more recharge. These numbers are not great. This is really worth +5ing all 4 of these enhancements if you decided to go with Consume. So when you do this, we don't have to take knockback protection here. So that means I can switch to slow protection because we're getting the knockback protection here, and that's pretty much the only reason I'm taking Fury of the Gladiator. The only other thing you could do is you could just put 2 accuracy and 2 recharge and call it a day for Consume. I mean, that's pretty solid as well. But this is just kind of a more fun decision for enhancements. Yeah. So let me think. What else do I need to talk about? Oh yeah, health. I mean, this is pretty standard. You don't really need too much regeneration in this build. This build doesn't really need regeneration. Max health is good, but regeneration is not needed because you have Radiant Aura, so you can always heal yourself. So it's not as important. Stamina is just 3 performance. Shifters. Yeah, okay. So I think that pretty much covers everything as far as how I made this build. For the Incarnate powers, yeah, there's a couple different things you could choose here. On my Defender in game, I made him with Intuition Radial Paragon. This is amazing for this Defender. I don't know if it's going to be amazing for the Radiation Defender. I put it in as the choice, but main reason why is hold duration is good for EM Pulse. Damage is good because everything you do does damage. Slow movement stacks with Lingering Radiation. Defense debuff stacks with, in my build, Radiation Infection, which is important because it's my only minus defense. So a little bit extra of that is nice. It is overkill, but it's nice. It's still within reason. However, on a radiation, I just don't think it's within reason. I mean, it's buffing literally all of your defense debuff, but you have so much that it's just like, at what point, are we going to stop with the defense debuff? So I'd say that that part of the intuition on the radiation is a waste, which is ironic because it changes so much, so many of the numbers, but they're just already too high. To hit debuff is affecting your radiation infection, which has minus to hit, and range is really nice because especially on, actually it's on both because I also have a cone. Range on cones is really nice, and just to be able to do things from farther. It will also increase how far your targets of your toggles can travel, because if you have more range on it, they can walk farther away without the toggle dropping off. So range is nice. So basically my point in going through all of that is every single thing in this alpha affects my character, and that's why I chose it. It's really good. So on the radiation, the defense debuff does not affect. So I don't know, that could be a decision to not take that. If you don't take intuition, then you would take spiritual. I would take the full spiritual for the recharge rate. Recharge rate is awesome, would be awesome on the Rad, because even like these toggles, they have a pretty decent recharge. Accelerate metabolism would be more perma, more mutation, more lingering radiation, more EM pulse, being able to spam your heal more, being able to hit your nuke more. It does a lot. You don't have any stun, I don't think, unless you're. Oh wait, no. Does Electron Haze stun? No. Does Atomic Blast stun? No. It's a hold. Oh wow, that's really cool. Oh, it's a little hold. It doesn't last for that long. That's cool. You can Atomic Blast and EM Pulse, and everything that is hit will be held. That is really cool. But unfortunately, for the sake of spiritual, you don't have any stun, so that doesn't do anything. But you do have healing, so healing will affect radiation or radiant aura. So that's kind of nice. I mean, it also affects like your health, but that's not that important because you don't need regen. So those are the two options for Alpha. For Destiny, you could take Ageless. If you didn't go down the consume route, I'd say there's a chance that you would want to take Ageless. Probably the right side, because you don't need the recovery. The recovery doesn't help with the impulse, but the surge of endurance helps. So you would take right side Ageless. But what I took and what I put in the build is Clarion. Clarion is just amazing because you are so tanky. You can get hit so much. The taking the damage isn't the problem. The getting held is the issue. So that's where Clarion comes in, and it's just so great for groups that don't have any protection to status. And interface, it would be hard. I think it's just kind of not canon for a Radiation Defender to not take Degenerative. It's just, it pairs perfectly with your regeneration debuffs, and that's kind of the whole point of Radiation, is that you can just destroy AVs. So Degenerative, I think, just makes the most sense. Lore is up to you. Yeah, I'll just leave it at that. Lore is up to you. Judgment's up to you. For Hybrid, no brainer. Take support. Not only is it just amazing for the team, which you're completely a team player if you're playing a Radiation Defender. Not only is it good for the team, though, the great part is it gives you the endurance discount at all times. So it's like 10%, something like that. 12%? I don't know. Will it work? 10%, yeah. 10% endurance cost. You already have a bunch of endurance reduction built into the build with reactive defenses and preventive medicine and the unbreakable guards. So that's why it turns out you end up getting, let's see, 12%. That's not right. It should be more than that. Is that with support? With support. It doesn't need to be on. I don't know why Mids is registering it this way. Even when support is triggered off, or it's not, the ability hasn't been clicked, you still get this. So 22% endurance reduction is crazy. So yeah, that's how I would do the Incarnates. I think that pretty much covers everything I wanted to say about this build. Most importantly is just like the different power choices. Do you want to take Lingering Radiation, or do you want Consume? Do you want to build Choking Cloud into the build? Do you want to build Fallout into the build? If you do build Fallout into the build, you probably want to take Vengeance. So, where does that come from? That would probably mean you're getting rid of some attacks to take those things. Aim, you could get rid of Aim even. Aim is the only reason you have this ability is for Atomic Blast. And with EM Pulse, that's a really good combo too. With the Gaussian, pretty much every time, let me see, do I? Oh, my guy didn't even take Aim at all. Yeah. So see, it's not required. You don't have to have it. But if you have it and you use it, it's pretty much like a double build-up with the Gaussian proc. If you use your nuke, it will pretty much guaranteed. Well, it's the cap is 5%. It has only a 5% chance to miss. So almost 100%. Cool. I think that's pretty much it. Let me just make sure I covered everything. Yeah. Pretty it. Yeah, I think it's a really fun build. I really like Radiation Defender. I just really like putting up the toggles, and then just being able to go to my single target rotation, or do my heals, or go buff people. Oh, this guy does have vengeance. That's cool. So yeah, I mean, I think it's a really, really fun build. I also really like it because how these guys are built, how I have these builds made is they're really tanky with maneuvers, dark embrace, tough and weave, and then your debuffs. You're pretty much untouchable, and you can just be right up there with the tank the whole time. So yeah, that's my thoughts on Radiation Defender. I hope you found this video useful, and I'll see you in the next one.